Hey guys, I want to read an excerpt from one of the statutes in the state that I reside in. But first I want to say a couple of things. First of all, I am publicly requesting that you remove any offensive, harassing, defamatory, libelous, and/or slanderous comments, content, or videos and comments from both Facebook and YouTube and any other site that you've posted defamatory, libelous, and slanderous content against my family and me. This is not limited only to Facebook and YouTube. The organized attack against me and my family that was launched even before September 3rd when I became aware of it has been flooding both Facebook and YouTube with defamatory content in order to harass and harm my family and me. Have you seen the post on Cheater, whatever it is, something or other, where they posted a false post about me? Every single sentence in that post is a lie, and they know it, and they don't care. They're breaking the law, and they don't care. They think they're going to get away with breaking the law because they're targeting a 59-year-old grandmother who they think is easy prey. But what they haven't considered when they chose to attack me was the state that I live in and the state statutes that apply to them because the victim they chose lives within this state. And then they take it a step further. They have people doing videos reading off of those websites where they've posted defamatory and libelous remarks and comments and accusations against my family and me. And they read them in these videos where they're saying, well, you know, freedom of speech and public information. Your freedom of speech ends at the point that you are speaking to harass, harm, stalk, intimidate, bully, threaten another person. Freedom of speech does not mean that you have the right to commit crimes against my family and me. Public information? No, it isn't. Because a reasonable person knows that that post is fake. You simply cannot post fake content and then read it off as if it's truth when you know that it is not. In fact, it is absolutely unreasonable to even begin to pretend that you believe that it's true. To the person working with your little buddy, we know who you are, who posted that crap on that Cheater website, I know it's going to cost you money to get it removed, but you have a choice, really, whether or not to pay to get it removed now, or whether or not you want to force me, basically, to have to get a court order to force you to pay to get it removed. I guess you should have thought of that before you posted it. And the Craigslist post that you've put on with my phone number and my name offering sex talk, you may want to figure out how to get those posts all scrubbed from the internet too. The professional review posts that you've put up claiming that I was your mediator and that I did a crappy job, or that I was your real estate broker and I did a crappy job, you might want to figure out how to get those all scrubbed clean too. You're going to pay for it anyway. It's your choice if you want to pay for it now or later. Are you familiar with the Brenda Leland story? If not, you should check it out. The people who have been attacking me since September 3rd, and even before September 3rd actually, but that's just when I became aware of it, they're following this same pattern that the people who were targeting Brenda Leland followed. But there's an interesting difference, and one which should be noted by the attackers. Brenda Leland didn't live in the United States. And Brenda Leland didn't live in my state, where we have laws to protect us against these types of attacks. I want to read something to you from our statute, from my state. And I want to point out that this is only about stalking. There's plenty more about harassment, bullying, harassing phone calls, and so much more. Crimes that have been committed against my family and me, including filing a false police report. One of the primary attackers has actually filed a false police report claiming that I have harassed her. Let that sink in. Course of conduct means a pattern of conduct composed of a series of two or more separate non-continuous acts, evidencing a continuity of purpose. Emotional distress means significant mental suffering or distress that may, but does not necessarily require medical or other professional treatment or counseling. Harassment means conduct directed toward a victim that includes but is not limited to repeated or continuing unconsented contact that would cause a reasonable individual to suffer emotional distress, and that actually causes the victim to suffer emotional distress. Harassment does not include constitutionally protected activity or conduct that serves a legitimate purpose. Take a closer look at that last sentence. It is not freedom of speech to be part of an organized attack against another person. Your freedom of speech ended the moment you decided to join in the harassment of my family and me. Stalking means a willful course of conduct involving repeated or continuing harassment of another individual that would cause a reasonable person to feel terrorized, frightened, intimidated, threatened, harassed, or molested, and that actually causes the victim to feel terrorized, frightened, intimidated, threatened, harassed, or molested. Unconsented contact means any contact with another individual that is initiated or continued without that individual's consent, or in disregard of that individual's expressed desire that the contact be avoided or discontinued. Unconsented contact includes but is not limited to any of the following: following or appearing within the sight of that individual. Yes, that has happened. Contacting that individual by telephone. Yes, that has happened. Sending mail or electronic communications to that individual. Yes, that has happened. And I'll add a few of my own. Purposely creating videos to harass, harm, threaten, intimidate, and bully another person. Committing, of course, defamation and slander, and then committing libel in the comment sections below. Contacting employers to interfere with their target's employment. Contacting family members to harass not only the family members, but of course their target. Sending threatening text messages. Threatening that more harm will come unless their target does exactly as she's told. Victim means an individual who is the target of a willful course of conduct involving repeated or continuing harassment. Take a look at the last 11 months. Take a look. It is an organized attack for over 11 months straight. Willful course of conduct? Oh, you betcha, and we have proof a mile high. An individual who engages in stalking is guilty of a crime as follows. And remember, this is just stalking we're talking about. We're not talking about harassment, bullying, harassing telephone calls, etc. This is solely specific to the crime of stalking. Except as provided in subdivision B, a misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment for not more than 1 year, or a fine of not more than $1,000, or both. The court may place an individual convicted of violating this section on probation for a term of not more than 5 years. If a term of probation is ordered, the court may, in addition to any other lawful condition of probation, order the defendant to do any of the following: refrain from stalking, blah, 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 refrain from having any contact with the victim, be evaluated. Oh, that would be a good one. Be evaluated to determine the need for psychiatric, psychological, or social counseling. That would be helpful now, wouldn't it? I can think of a couple more. 12 months without any computer access. Paying any costs related to having their false posts online. You know, scrubbing the internet of the negative content that they purposely put online. And maybe even some community service on top of it. I don't know, scrubbing the streets maybe, so they can get a real idea of what the word scrubbing means. In a prosecution for a violation of this section, evidence that the defendant continued to engage in a course of conduct involving repeated, unconsented contact with a victim after having been requested by the victim to discontinue the same or a different form of unconsented contact, and to refrain from any further unconsented contact with the victim, gives rise to a rebuttable presumption that the continuation of the course of conduct caused the victim to feel terrorized, frightened, intimidated, threatened, harassed, or molested. And then finally, a criminal penalty provided for under this section may be imposed in addition to any penalty that may be imposed for any other criminal offense arising from the same conduct or for any contempt of court arising from the same conduct. What that means is that what I'm reading from right now, it's just about stalking. There's plenty more because the state in which I live cares about cyber harassment so much that we're known for having some of the most strict cyber harassment and bullying laws on the books. Don't kid yourself. Just because you live in Texas or Arizona or Georgia or Louisiana or Kentucky or Ohio, it doesn't mean that you're not held accountable specific to this and other Michigan statutes.